gray box. Just know that it's right here, LAS V 4.3.
Now, if somebody else logs on, it may not be sitting on the desktop, so that's why we may have to go to the program, which would be in the computer. It may not be sitting on another person's
Well,
desktop.
all users just make a shortcut on their desktop.
Okay. So I'll go into this.
So you can be looking through bright field and then switch over to fluorescence and then bright field fluorescence as you're trying to figure out where you want to go in the section. Is that what that
And
shutter?
it's very fast, yeah.
Is that shutter TL? Oh no, that one. The bottom one.
Bright field, fluorescence. Bright field, fluorescence.
And then you have the shutter on, obviously, huh?
Right, yeah, not right now, but
Well, it was shining.
yeah, I pushed the shutter button a couple times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it on?
Yep.
Okay. Well, these were not on.
Okay.
Nothing's there.
Sounds good. I'll look forward to your call.
Where are we? Oh, we're way really on. Let's see. I can't see again because my glasses. Oh, there. See, that was totally out of focus. Okay, now if I want to do this.
First you gotta do your,
This?
yep, bottom button.
That's not terribly exciting. I just didn't know this.
Oh, there you go.
Oops.
You can
Is
change.
this, I changed this one?
Nope, that's just your fluorescent button. The one below that is your change key.
I just wanted to know if there was any fluorescence that was here. There is a little bit here, but not a lot.
And this camera isn't made for fluorescence. You can see we're fine because this is really bright. But in low light situations, this camera does not do very good. So
Actually,
just
you do see it a little. I mean, you see the color.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we're at a pretty low exposure time. I just wouldn't recommend using this for a lot of fluorescence.
See, and that's one thing that these guys haven't really had to do is use exposure time.
Okay.
That's not something
Right.
you've ever had to change.
Okay.
So we need to go over that.
Sure.
Okay, now because I was screwing around here, when you open up your program, did
Right
it
here.
immediately show
Yep.
what
Right
the
here.
computer's seeing right now? So this
Yep.
is like a live picture, basically.
Right. Unless this is pushed in, if you're going all the way to your eyes
Uh-huh.
right here, then you don't. But if it's halfway, remember you can see through your eyes and you can see on the screen.
So this is this a live picture? I mean, if I move this, is it
Mhm.
going to move?
Yep.
Oh, so this is really like a video then.
But remember what he was saying too, it's like for the fluorescence, you don't want a half and half. You got to go all to the camera, right?
Right, and I'd prefer if you guys didn't even use this camera for fluorescence. I mean,
Okay.
you can do it, but
Uh-huh.
just be careful. Is all. It's not going to blow up or anything. It's just if you end up increasing your exposure times, like I was talking to you about, by increasing your exposure times, it's going to get really hot. This camera isn't cooled, so you could get some of those dead pixels.
Does it damage the camera?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, well, we don't want to do that.
Right.
You know, I have a Cool Snap.
That's a good camera too.
Better than this?
Cool Snap EZ. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. That's on the other scope.
Okay. That'd be an option too. But I'll go back into.
Okay,
into
so
here.
you open up your program, and
Yep.
this just
And it pops up.
it pops up, and
Yep.
then it looks like this is all sort of tab and
Right.
menu driven.
So setup is already done. Don't go into setup. It just basically I'm telling it what is on the microscope.
Yeah.
And since this is connected to the computer and there's a nice crosstalk, it's auto calibrated. So within Acquire, you'll spend most of your time in Acquire and some in Process. Probably not a lot in Browse, and I'll show you why. Within Acquire, you're going to want to be in the Camera tab. Microscope 1 and Microscope 2. It's basically the same thing that your scope does with the buttons and intensities and whatnot.
So probably just
Yeah, I wouldn't really. Yeah, you can use it if you want, but it's easier just to use it on the scope.
right. Yeah.
So within Camera, your first drop-down tab, and these can be moved out if you want them out somewhere, and you can always exit out and have them go right back. So you can kind of put them wherever you want.
That's fun.
This first one is nice in the fact that you can have an automatic exposure, and what that does, if you do automatic exposure in bright field, it works really well. It takes away that exposure and just gives you brightness control. So as I go from my 20 to my 10, it's going to automatically change, rather than having to do it manually every time. Okay, so that's nice to have. The next one is your white balance, which I've already done. You can always do it. There's two ways to do it. You can go to an empty spot and just draw a box in the background and do white balance. And all I'm doing is just left click, make a box, and I'm letting it go and it pops up automatically for me.
Okay.
And do a white balance that way, or I can do a white balance on the whole image if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
It works better if you do the whole image if you're actually just in a white region. Okay. The easy button is awesome. This is a new feature on the software. It just makes it very simple. Let's say an undergrad for whatever reason comes in here and
For me.
I knew one of us.
and then
I was gonna say that
then all you
myself.
get is brightness control, and that's it. Just very, very simple. And this just shows your over/under exposed areas. Nothing. I mean, a little bit pops up here, but not bad. The rest of this is not really important. So the drop down here, I'll turn automatic off for now, just so I can show you what the next tab would be. This is your exposure. Your gain is used more so in fluorescence. If you're getting up to really, really high exposure times, you use your gain, and that electronically brightens your image up, so you don't have to be so high.
We do the same thing with the
Yep,
confocal.
exactly. Exactly. Your color saturation is right here, so if you want it a little bit more intense, you see it's a little more vibrant,
Mm-hmm.
a little more dull. What you want to do, you want to try to match what you see through the scope, color-wise,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then your gamma just changes, obviously your histogram, bows it up, it includes more information. I'm going to show you that too.
I've never really understood gamma. though.
You know what? I'd say just leave it at 0.6. That's the default for it. If you increase it, it just a little more contrasty,
Uh-huh.
and it does play with your histogram a little bit. If you bring it down, it's going to get washed out.
Okay.
So 0.6 is the default, and I'd say just probably leave it there.
Is there a way to get back to default if you start screwing around and go,
Yep.
oh crap, how do I get back to default?
So histogram, right click, reset black white points, and then do it again and do reset gamma value.
Okay.
Right there.
But that's just for that,
That's for
the gamma only.
yeah. Yep. Yep. The next one down is your input options. This just gives you this camera. This tells you what camera is connected right now. And this is very important. Very important. Your configuration tab. I did this already and I saved one. I did like it recommended for Brightfield. So it saves whatever I do within my acquire tab. So I could change a bunch of stuff in here. Let's say you do that and you, let's see, what can we change? We could do this, let's say.
Mhm.
It looks terrible. I can come back in here, go back to my, like you recommended, and it'll go back.
Okay, that's what
To
I
where
was
I
meaning
saved
when I was
it.
saying, is there a way to go back?
There,
like
there is a,
scrutiny?
right, there is, so that's why I made that right away for you guys. So there's a way to go back to kind of a recommended, but then you can always save your own configurations for
Sure.
certain dyes as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Just click on the plus button, name it something, and then it'll come down here in the drop tab. And that'll save whatever you do within the
Perfect.
acquire camera tab.
Okay.
Oh, that's good, because we do have some really different things that we're
Right,
looking at.
right. And that way it keeps it the same across the board. Image format, so you're going to capture at your highest resolution, but we're looking at the live image about half of the full resolution, just to get a faster refresh rate.
This is that many, when you're saying live, you're
Yep,
looking at it.
right
yeah,
here.
that's
Yep.
that. Okay.
So we
The
can't. We
picture-
could match our captured format if we wanted to. It would just be slower.
This
Yeah.
computer isn't beefy enough to really handle that,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Kinda.
I like to have it live because then it's just faster. It's more of a live image.
Yeah. But I mean, to
It probably would be fine.
what? Okay.
So processing, I have sharpening on medium. I can, right now it's going to apply it once I acquire the image, but I can do it to live if I wanted to as well. So you do notice a
Oh, so you can
difference.
see.
Yep. But it will slow your refresh rate down. So right now we're at 20 frames per second. If I did that live, it's should go down, but it's not. So you can do that, and it doesn't really affect your live image. Usually it goes down quite a bit.
We'll do that. I just don't notice any change now. Oh yeah, I do. And that's more like what your acquired image is going to look like?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, actually a lot better, because the resolution is
Yeah.
half. Yep. And then I did flip the image horizontally and vertically to match what we see through the eyepieces.
Uh-huh.
And that's saved automatically because I changed all this first and then I saved it in my configuration. Region of interest. This is kind of a cool one. Let's say I wanted to focus on something right here.
Mm-hmm.
If I make a box around it and go to zoom focus, it will zoom in just on the box,
Mm-hmm.
and you can focus on just that.
Wow.
You can see that the little line on the right
Actually,
side.
that's kind of a cool thing.
What's
Even
that
I
line
can,
on the right side?
That's just telling you how in focus you are.
and you can zoom in there.
And then once you're done, you click on it, and it'll do the whole image at that focal point.
Oh, but can you do it with that little blowout?
Within an image?
Yeah.
And save it that way?
Because I mean, I can see some applications that we would have that you'd show like just what we just did, central nucleus of the amygdala, in the 10x or whatever, then with focusing on one cell within there or something.
Right.
You know,
It's a good. I don't know how you do that. Because I just did a
Capture
region of
screen.
interest.
Yeah, like screenshot or something.
that's what you'd have to do.
Right.
I'm
But
sure
that-
there's
that-
some way that you can zoom. Well, even here you're zooming in on that, but I mean, you mean just save that box and not the rest of it.
No, I mean save the whole image with the inset box that is zoomed
Oh,
on your area of interest. Right?
said box isn't zoomed though.
Not in that case. It wasn't.
Not no, because I just did a region of interest. Was all I did on that one.
You
That
crop
was
to
it.
region of interest.
Oh yeah, you can't. Well, you zoom to the.
You know what
region
I
of
would recommend
interest.
doing if I were you and you wanted to do this?
Yeah.
Because when you do that, you're not really gaining any resolution.
Yeah.
You're zooming in like that. It's just digital.
Mm-hmm.
I'd recommend doing. It's called Dual Viewer here down at the bottom. Again, this is. I don't want to go too in depth on all these extra
Yeah,
features,
yeah.
but it's okay. So we can. Let's say we wanted to. We'll capture this image first. Okay. So
Right.
I've gone through all this, and then calibration is calculated based on all the information that we've told it.
Okay.
It's going to be in microns. We're good to go. So I'm going to capture this image.
Can you put a little image?
After I'll do it after. I'll show you.
Well, that's in the post processing.
Yep. So I'm going to save it just on the desktop.
Because it's got all the information attached to this.
Correct.
Yeah.
So whenever you capture an image and you find it on your computer, there's going to be an image file and there's going to be like 3 other information files. Keep those. So here's your image right here. I'm going to go back to Acquire now. I can do Dual Viewer. This is my live image
Okay.
right here. Now my right image, I don't have a gallery, but over here, this is going to be with you all the time.
Okay.
So I'm going to activate my gallery down here. Make sure I'm going to be on this right side. Oh, I double clicked on it. So it brought me into a different. Okay, so this is my captured one. This is my live. So now I'd recommend going up a power, like to 40. What are we at? Go up to 40x. I'll let it. Oh, I turned the auto off. I did. That's cool. So then, say you wanted to zoom in right there, and then I will capture that.
Yeah.
So I captured that one, and then now I can do the dual viewer. I don't have enough space on my right side. It's down one more. I don't have enough space on this monitor.
Do we need to change the resolution of the screen? Did I just slur that? I just went out and had my lunch martini.
Yeah, so this should. But you see, this is right below this double check mark box and process. It's right below here.
How'd you get to
How'd
it?
you get it to come
Because
up?
he went
I went back to
rather than
acquire.
process.
But process lets me do 2 captured images, and then you could save that
There should be a way
as
to
one
scroll
image.
down to that.
I would. That's what I'm trying
Is
to
there
trying
a
to
scroll
figure
bar
out.
somewhere? On there? I don't think it's there because you can see the bottom of that. But you see how there's a line
Rounded
underneath
bottom,
it.
yeah.
It's rounded bottom on that other one. I don't think it's showing up in process.
It should be right below it because you're able to save that. But that's it has to do with the monitor. But yeah, we could change the resolution of the monitor if you wanted to. That would work. So I'm gonna turn this off now. Back in Acquire. So I turned it off. These are my images I've captured here. I'll also turn my gallery off in my live image. I like to have just the image, my live image, when I'm in Acquire. So whenever you capture an image, it's going to go from Acquire, right next door, to Browse. Within Browse, it really gives you just your computer. And whenever you're deleting, moving, saving anything, do it within the software. Don't do it within
through
Windows.
Okay. Did you hear that, Leah? Whenever you're deleting, saving any of these files, do it within this software, not within Windows.
Because there's several
You know what?
things that are
Now, when you watch the video, you'll hear that twice. We'll emphasize
Actually, I'm
that.
going to take that back.
Oh.
And reason being, so we're having it confirm your image name every time you capture an image. So it doesn't really matter where you save it,
Oh, good.
but there is a way to do it where it'll capture to a fixed folder location.
Uh-huh.
So it doesn't ask you and prompt you for a name every time. It'll just keep saving to
Well,
this one
and
folder.
so when we come in and say I've got 20 images to do, I can come in and click that box and make a new fixed folder, because we're going to have the Ronin lab, Peterson lab, the Munger lab,
You could.
and
There's
then
a-
within there are 20 different folders. and-
Right. So there's ways to get around that and do it. Just make sure that everybody knows how to do it if you're going to do it this way, because that's where the issue comes of moving things around
Mhm.
outside of LAS.
Well, we probably will just. I think that's smart to just leave
So,
it unclicked.
If
for now.
you
Multi-users,
did
yeah.
that, then you've got to be careful with the moving and the deleting. But
Oh.
since we're having it prompt us every time,
Okay.
then you don't have to. I just ran across that the other week, and it does not matter the way that we're doing it right now. So everything that's in Browse, you have in Process. So I usually like to stay in Acquire and Process. So I'll go next door into Process here. The one thing you don't have is all this information here on the left side with your computer. So within Process, you actually still do have that. It's your navigator up here at the top. So you could move this over here, and now you have basically your Browse tab. Okay. So with this image here, I can do this drop down. You've got to activate the box down here. You can add the image name.
Why is that? What's that for? Why do they have them inactive and it requires a click?
It's a good question. Okay. I'll leave it
I
at
thought
that.
maybe there was something.
I don't know what the reason would be. You can add a description to it. Of course, the font on this is too small, but that's
It's
easy
just so
to
you have to
change.
call them. Like, I'm at this point, I can't remember what I have to do.
Right.
Although it's pretty easy because it's like you only got
thing to
one
click on.
active
Right,
button.
right. And then you can put a timestamp on there as well if you would like.
But that was like the Zeiscope
That's
where we all had to when you switch from the eyepiece to the laser scanning, you have to click a couple buttons.
Right.
And everyone, the first time they get back,
Yeah, it was
it's
the
like-
online thing. We're like, no,
Yeah.
we're not online. We're not hooked
Right.
in. And
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
hooked, but we do.
So again, now you've got to activate the line. So if you ever go on here and you want to, like, oh, I'm going to do a distance line. It does
Oh,
not
right.
work. You got to activate it first. It gives you a color which you can change.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can do a distance line, a line only, or an arrow.
And the arrow, you can put the ends, whatever you want, so you can make it bracket-like or pointy.
Just pointy. So the distance line is pretty simple.
Oh, yeah.
From there to there.
That's what I meant.
And then-
That's
and
not
then
pointy.
Yeah. The arrow is
I
only.
guess.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I got you. So, if you want to put just an arrow, I was just
Right.
talking about a width bar, but yeah.
Yes, so there's the width bar, and then you can make it a little bit thicker if you want to see it.
Sure.
A little bit easier.
And then we can say, and here is what we want you to look at.
And then the arrow, now you'll notice when I do the arrow, it went away. Okay?
Right.
A way to get around this is you either buy the additional module that allows you to do as many as you want,
Uh-huh.
or you can activate the distance line, let's say, and I want to do one from here to here. Looks
Save.
good. Yep. I'm going to merge
Okay.
all,
Yeah.
and I'm going to create a duplicate.
Okay.
Or I could replace it. But
Okay.
I'm going to make another one. So I've got two of the same right here.
Yeah.
However, one, I can deactivate everything, which I'm going to do. So you have your original image, and then you use this one from here on out, and you do your...
It's permanent up there
Yep.
now.
Yep, it is. So now you can do an arrow, you can point to something, you can even label it, and then I'll merge it again, and then I'll replace it this time. So now I can keep doing more measurements as I see fit.
Oh,
Cool.
that's
That's nice. That's easy enough.
an easy workaround.
Right.
Wow.
Your font is, again, it's just, default is white and brown. You can obviously change that. However, whenever you go into process, let's say you exit out of the software, go back into it, it's going to be the same default. Font and the color.
Okay.
Another way to get around that, so change it to whatever you want. So I wanted,
Can't you just have a transparent background?
yeah, yep. So go to background and then just go to
Oh yeah,
on the right side
transparency
here.
right there. Yeah. So
okay. So you could do that, and then just click on set. That will save. Let's see here.
for just
Yep.
for that image.
It will save both your annotation and your scale bar information.
Right.
No, just in general, it's just basically saving what you just did, changing like the font and the color and the width.
Even for the next guy that
Yes.
comes in.
Yep. So then when you come back in to the software,
That's not that big a deal.
rather than changing the font and the color again, you just click on recall, and it'll recall the previously set defaults.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Too bad we can't have 5 different
Right.
settings.
So you can.
That's okay. That's not that big a deal.
Okay. And so then I will deactivate this one. And again, this can be moved out if you wanted to, so you can see both at the same time.
Mhm.
You know, there's different ways to go about it. And then scale bar, we're going to activate that as well. Again, it's a little bit small, but upper left. I like to do end bars myself.
Yeah.
Make it a little bit thicker. And I can either use the arrows for the different spots, or I can just pick it up and move it wherever I want.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. And it's adaptive, so it's going to fit the objective that I used. So it's not going to give you a really, really long one.
Yeah.
You can do.
But you could
can do
change the
user,
font
You can do
size.
user length if you wanted to.
Yeah.
You can go to 100 microns if you want.
Yeah, and you can change the font size.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course.
Yep. And again, same as this. So
Yep.
when you do that set, it's going to defaults including scale bar. So here and the scale bar drop down as well.
Okay.
And the merge all, again, it's going to merge both your scale bar and your annotation, and they're
Uh-huh.
both merge all. So it'll do everything
That's cool.
on the image. One other nice feature that is free with the software is the stitch function.
That's something that's nice.
So you could, what you would do, and I'll show you, I might as well on here. Do 10x.
Obviously, you have to click that before you start moving things.
So what you do actually, first of all, we're going to acquire an image, and they all have to be at the same magnification.
Sure.
So I captured that one. I'm going back to acquire. Now you got to move it, you know, whichever way you want to, but you got to leave about a quarter overlap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Quarter, it's a lot.
That one.
Doesn't give you a little grid or anything to show
It does
where
not.
you've been.
Nope. And it is sample dependent. Sometimes it looks good, sometimes it does not look fantastic. So we'll try this out. I went in a kind of square shape. Yeah. I'll go to process. I've got to click on the ones that I just captured. So holding down control,
Mhm.
1, 2, 3, 4, stitch. So it says 4 images are going to be stitched.
Mhm.
And it even kind of tells you what to do. So you want the software to blend the images where they overlap. And then here's kind of the guide on how to do it. Capture it with a quarter overlap and make sure they're all captured at the same magnification. Okay, and then we'll stitch the images together. There you go. So the reason I did this is just because I didn't go far enough.
Oh,
Right?
right.
But it did a great job. So, but image 1 was right about here,
Yeah, yeah.
image 2, image 3, and then image 4.
Yeah.
I went a little bit farther to the right. So then from here, you would probably want to crop this. You could crop it. So you don't have those white spots. Just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Finish it up, and there you go.
Yeah, cool.
Nice.
And so from here, you could zoom in, and you're not, you're not losing any resolution.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And when you stitch, you still have the option to do size bars and all that stuff. right?
Exactly.
Really? Oh, so
Mhm.
it knows what it is.
It does. Yes.
That's cool.
Yep. So that's kind of a quick little walkthrough for you guys.
Yeah, no, it looks like very simple software once
very
you're
simple.
sitting down with it
Yep.
for a while. And there's some carryover with other software that we use. This isn't, a world different than other acquisition packages.
Right.
It's got the same sorts of settings.
Well,
so,
and even in options,
yeah,
so options, preferences, image is the kind of the one area you can kind of go to.
sure.
And you can change some things. You can actually have it, once you acquire an image, rather than going into browser process, it can actually be opened up in a different program.
Sure,
So it could be
install
opened in
Photoshop or
Photoshop,
whatever.
whatnot. So that's
And-
nice.
Say that again? What's that?
So you could actually have it open in Photoshop if you wanted to. Once you acquire an image,
Uh-huh.
it'll actually open up into Photoshop
Oh,
if
I
you
see.
wanted it to. So there's just different ways you can use the software.
And I saw that it was saving it as a TIFF 8-bit, but obviously we could save it as whatever we
Whatever
want.
you wanted to.
It's got everything, doesn't it?
Well, and
Does
that.
it have Photoshop native? As a,
Oh. So right now is where you would tell it what you wanted to save it as.
Just JPEG too.
JPEG or TIFF is all it is on here.
I mean, I always save everything as a TIFF and then change it
Right.
later.
Yep.
That's what you'd recommend. You have 16-bit TIFF?
Yeah, we do. When
Yeah.
available. So
When
you
would
could.
it not be available?
I don't know. Probably depending on the computer,
Hmm.
maybe.
And for exporting,
Right. So it's
No,
really
I
up
mean-
to you.
where...
Oh, for exporting?
Yeah,
Oh.
for exporting now, where it process.
Right click on these images.
Uh-huh. What if I want to save a whole batch that I captured today? I want to take them off to my office and work on them. You still have to do it there. You can't, like you said, don't do it in Windows, even for exporting.
You can do that in exporting. Yeah.
I mean, I can just go to the file that I saved them
could,
in, and
yeah.
they're all TIFFs, and
Yes.
okay, yeah.
Or you can just copy them and then.
Yeah.
Export.
Export, send to, copy.
Yep. So include all meta files and then.
But those are the actual files that if I just copy and paste them someplace, they're the full-on files.
Right.
And how about this software? So there's kind of like a traveling software that comes with the confocal that we've used. So when you want to do some image analysis stuff using the native software, so it was like a shareware program almost. The Zen.
Zen has a light, sort of a Zen light, so that
Our
when
AF
one-
has the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
the
So I
AF
mean, I could
software.
install this on my desktop and pull up the images in the same program for any processing.
What you would do, so if you were to export this,
'Cause that's
and you
what I-
wanted to open these images up on a different computer, like your own computer,
In this program.
yep, you would want to export, but you would want to make sure you included the meta files, because
Yeah,
that way you could
of course.
do all the
Yeah.
measurements on your computer.
Perfect.
This is just the core software. So this
Mhm.
would be the exact same look that you'd have on yours, minus the live image. Obviously.
And we can have the core software on,
On as
all
many
of-
computers as you
okay.
want.
And then you're just going to leave the disk?
Yeah, it's your disk to
It's our
have.
disk.
It's your
Okay.
disk.
Oh, that's great, because a lot of times, you spend some time screwing around with that, and if somebody else wants to use a microscope, you're
Well,
sitting
that's
Right.
perfect, yeah, because we don't want this dedicated to processing. I mean, and usually it's not an issue, but sometimes in the summers we have, it's pretty crowded on the scopes. And this is the type of scope with light microscopy that I predict is going to, there'll be more extended periods. Like when we do things with light microscopy, I can see it's going to be a survey sort of thing where real detailed and a lot of acquisition. You've seen some of those Journal of Comparative Neurology papers. Yeah. So anyway, I can see a
It's
lot
also
of
nice to
time.
have in your office, because you're writing a paper and then you're like, wait, I really should be, I don't know, I'm want to look and see which image I want to put in this paper. That way you can pull it up and start screwing around with it to be able to
Yeah.
figure out what you want to put on your
Right.
paper. It's just nice to be at your desk
So,
to be able to.
okay, well,
This is great. Now, I have one more question. There's phase, contrast.
Yeah.
I was going to, and
Yeah,
then
I
I
saw
did.
that.
Did you see that?
I,
Yeah, I
I'll edit that in later.
Or, yeah.
Delete the finger.
Yeah, right, you can delete one of the fingers out of there. Phase contrast, how do I see that?
Yeah, let's do that. That's what,
Because we've just
I
seen
can
the
I can
light.
actually give you a. I mean, if you guys have just a regular slide, I can do a cheek swab if you want.
Sure.
To do and show you phase contrast.
Oh, you mean you want it on something that is not
Not
Done.
stained. I mean, we
Oh,
can
I
do
have
it.
to, I have
Here,
tons
I'm
of